Imbeciles! I never get invited to the holiday parties. Look at that beautiful holiday display. Stupid, awful, I hate it. Joy? More like seasonal Christmas depression. Ho ho ho! What an adorable Christmas family. I wouldn't know anything about that. I live in a mountain cave by myself and my dog. A foot of snow in 4 days? Awful, terrible. Where's my sauna? Well, this house is tacky and way too much. What a crummy gift. Sounds like it's broke already.
Grinch, what are you doing?
Would you believe I'm testing extended warranties?
I don't get it, man. Why are you so grumpy around Christmas time?
Cause everybody's Christmas is so perfect, and mine is a mess. What about Christmas for people with messes?
Actually, Christmas is all about Jesus entering into our mess. Let's talk about it. If you were asked to describe the birth of Jesus, I think all of us have certain things that we would put in that picture. There would be things like a barn, Mary, Joseph, baby Jesus in a manger, some shepherds. You might say 3 wise men. Maybe the song Away in a Manger comes into your head and you say there were animals there. I mean, Jesus was put in a manger after all. So we need a sheep. Well, a couple sheep. Actually, lots of sheep. And a donkey. And a camel. And angels singing. This common scene is known all around the world as the Nativity. It's pretty common around Christmas time. But would it surprise you to learn that that scene didn't come about until 1,000+ years or so after the birth of Jesus? It wasn't until about 1212 that St. Francis of Assisi commissioned this artistic representation to happen in a cave in order to teach kids more about the birth of Jesus. Well, if this scene didn't come about until 1,200 years or so after the birth of Jesus, is there a different picture we're supposed to have in mind as we read the Christmas story? Now, I'm not here to overwrite 800 years of church history, but I think Luke uses some really specific words in his account of Jesus' birth in Luke chapter 2 that maybe might paint a different picture for us as we really dig in and understand what Luke was writing. Now, Luke was a doctor, and in his gospel, he uses really specific words to give the readers a really clear message of what he was intending. There's a whole lot in Luke chapter 2 that we could unpack and look at, but I want to focus at just a couple words and a couple verses. We're going to look at Luke 2, verse 7, where it talks about there was no room in the inn, so they had to put Jesus in a manger. Well, there's a couple little key details that Luke uses in his gospel that I think we miss out on. Well, the word room in Luke 2, verse 7, doesn't typically mean like a vacant room in a motel. Rather, it's the Greek word topos, which is kind of just used for space. Like I have space on my desk for a lamp. It's not used in the commercial room sense of the word. This is further reinforced by the word Luke uses for inn. He uses the word katalima. Remember this. If Luke wanted to use the word for a commercial inn like a motel, he probably would have used the word pandochion. We know this because later on in Luke, in the parable of the Good Samaritan, this is the word that Jesus uses as he tells the parable of that guy that gets beat up on the road. A Good Samaritan finds him and takes him to a pandochion and says, I'm going to pay for his stay and his medical bills. If there are further expenses, I'll pay for them when I get back. That's the word pandochion, and it means a commercial inn. That's not the word Luke uses. Luke uses the word katalima. Well, what's the difference? In Luke 22, Jesus tells his disciples to enter the city and seek out a man and ask if the upper room or the katalima is available for them to participate in the Passover meal. If in Luke 22, the definition of katalima is used as an upper room or a guest room, why should the definition or interpretation of katalima be any different in Luke chapter 2? Now, to wrap this up and put it all together, and what does it mean? We have to have a quick little history lesson about ancient Israelite homes. Typically, the average home was like 2 rooms. There was that upper room, the katalima, and then there was like the common hangout family room that was like the lower level. If you were kind of a common person with this typical 2-room house, if you needed a place to keep your livestock safe and heat your house, what's the best location for it? That's right. They would typically bring their livestock, their cattle, whatever, into kind of that family common room. Not only would this protect the livestock from people like robbers, but it's actually a cheap way to heat your house. As such, you gotta have a way to feed the animal. So there'd oftentimes be mangers, feeding troughs, built into the walls of the family room. It's actually really cool. They've done archaeological digs in Israel and have found kind of these two-story houses exactly like how Luke describes in his gospel. I think that's pretty cool. So how does this all make sense with the Christmas story in Luke 2? Well, Mary and Joseph go back to Bethlehem, a city that Joseph would be kind of a celebrity in. He is of the family and line of David after all, and Bethlehem is his city. They go to a house. There's no room in the upper room, the guest room. Why? Well, probably because there's another guest in there already. Well, the host family welcomes Mary and Joseph in, but rather than that separate upper guest room, well, Mary delivers baby Jesus in the family room, the common room, the one with the manger and the cattle and livestock in it. Can you imagine like the sounds and the commotion, the animals in the room? Like Jesus was born into a messy kind of situation. Why? Well, the whole point of Jesus being born was so ultimately he could die on the cross and pay the penalty for our sins, rise again from the dead, so that we could be adopted back into God's family. I think it's a beautiful picture at Jesus' birth that Jesus is all about entering our mess in order to bring us into the family of God. He was born in the family room after all. Well, I hope you guys were blessed by that, I don't want to say reimagining, but that telling of the Christmas story with a different lens on. So Merry Christmas, but before you go, let's talk some FCA updates. The biggest update I have to share with you is starting January 1st, 2023, I'm moving into full-time ministry with Fellowship of Christian Athletes. The last few months have been really incredible to see so many of you faithfully answer God's call in your own life to partner with me in the ministry of FCA. I'm super excited to be a full-time employee starting next month and do more discipleship with coaches, launch new huddles in school, engage more coaches and athletes with the gospel. God's going to do some incredible things through all of us. I'm just super lucky to be kind of the boots on the ground of the ministry of FCA, but it doesn't happen without my team behind me. So thank you so much for your support. I'm super excited to bring you more ministry updates in 2023. Have a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.